It's working.
Now we know the TV's working, we can go.
Yeah.
Mr. Director, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Baird.
Here.
Mr. Harbsmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Isbell.
Here.
Mr. McInnes.
Here.
Mr. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. Templeton. And Mr. Wright. You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mike. All right, how about approval of the agenda? It was sent to us earlier. Do I hear a motion? Thank you, Ben. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Citizens or delegations? I didn't see anybody wanting to make a speech. Okay, the minutes for today's meeting, the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, buddy. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Now, financial report. Carolyn is not here.
Well, I don't have those, and I thought she was gonna bring them, but I can tell you they look good. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
I'd say you always do.
Bills are paid,
Nothing-
money in the bank.
Exactly.
Need a motion on that looking good? Yeah.
Nothing's better than an
hold up,
official
hold up.
report, is it, Paul?
Oh, there you go. There you
Here comes Carolyn.
Just in time, I was looking up your number.
Mike's already told us it looks good.
Oh, no.
Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, sir.
Here you go, buddy. You go good there. Yep.
That's all we need, I think.
There
They got everybody.
Everybody got
you
it?
go.
Yeah, we got it, yeah.
It's this.
Oh.
Yeah, Mike's got one.
You go, here you go. Yeah, we're good on this one.
Carolyn, you catch your breath, it's you.
Oh, you're ready for me?
We're ready for
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay, if you'll look at your balance sheet, you'll see that the LGLP has $795,248.68, and Baltimore State Bank has $4,864,000, total $5,659,636.71. This is the total funds that we have available. And then if you look at the other sheet, you'll see that we're really on schedule with everything that we're doing.
Mike, it does look good. Anybody have any questions for Carolyn?
Make a motion, sit.
Thank you, buddy. Second. Thank you, Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Mr. Mayor?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. ECD Director's Report.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna make it quick here, I hope. So if I go too fast, just tell me to slow down. I got the draft audit report back this morning. Everything looks good. There are no findings. There are a couple of journal entries that have to be adjusted, but that's not unusual. So hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have those booklets and hand out to you there. Activity for the ECD for the last approximately 60 days or since our last meeting, we had 58 tickets, a little slow, which that's not uncommon for November and December. System administrator had 16 tickets, but I can assure you that he had way more to do than that because not all tickets get entered for what he has to do. Next, give you a couple of updates on where we are. The Central Square hardware refresh and rehost that we started in November of 21 has mostly completed. We had, the last leg of that was to rehost the records management system for the law agencies. We began that last month, and after about 10 days or so of several hiccups, we were finally past that, and we've moved on from that. That did cause some heartache for several of our law enforcement agencies because of those problems that we had with the rehost. Not on anything on our part, but it was on the vendor's part. Next, Infonet is planning to come back to decommission some of the old equipment, which is part of the rehost. The VRRP solution that we talked about, I think, in July, which will connect the ECC and the DR site to where if the ECC fails, there's an automatic failover to the DR site. Infonet should come and hopefully we'll take care of that this month. We had a conference call about that last week. And because we're having Infonet come on site for those two things, and they're hoping to kill two birds with one stone and have somebody come back and do that in a couple of days altogether. ECC director vacancy, long story short, is an offer was made and to an individual, and he declined that offer as of Friday afternoon. So we still have an interim director in place and waiting on further direction from the executive committee. December 9th tornado, that was the big event since our last meeting. Members of the command staff reported for duty at approximately 5:30 that afternoon. I believe the tornado hit around 5 o'clock. We sent 2 people to the DR site because Hendersonville was hit hard, so we already knew that we had people, that was right at shift change, by the way. So we had people who were staying over, a few people had come in early, so we had all of our 18 positions, with the exception of one station which was down, had all of those filled, so it wouldn't do any good for any extra people to come to the ECC anyway. So we sent 2 people to the DR site. 4 personnel came to the ECC from the command staff, and we were able to have things calm down around 8 or 9 o'clock, and we started sending folks home, and the command staff vacated around 10:30, 11 o'clock that night. The EOC was also activated, so we had representatives from virtually every city that was affected there at the EOC. Then we had several agencies from around the state, maybe outside of the state, to come in and help. I know that there was Brentwood, a couple agencies from Mount Juliet, maybe Rutherford County, yeah. So several agencies had come in to assist, fire departments, police departments. So we're very blessed there. Just to give you an idea, so these are the 911 calls only. This does not capture the administrative calls. So you can see on December 9th, a total of 206 911 calls came in a 4-hour span between 5 o'clock p.m. and that 8 p.m. captures 8 to 8:59. So you can see how the week before and the week after compared. So significantly more 911 calls. The folks on the floor handled this just in a great manner. As a matter of fact, Chief Beeman from Gallatin Fire came in and later gave some kudos to one of the telecommunicators who was handling fire and basically handling most of the fire departments that evening. So we certainly want to give the appreciation to our folks on the floor and our command staff who came in and helped that night. Okay, some pending projects or projects that are pending. The hardware refresh, again, that started over 2 years ago. The balance on that is $106,000. However, this is, and actually I'm going to ask you to sort of thumb through your packet that I gave you this afternoon. If you look over on the second sheet, starting there, you'll be able to understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about when I go through some of these projects here, on some of them. Anyway, $106,000 is what Central Square says that we owe on that refresh. However, they did not account that we've already paid for some travel that was part of that bill, and they have not deducted that yet, which will lead to another discussion in a minute. The VRRP solution, I think you approved $24,104 for that. We owe about $2,209 left on that, and I will say that we were able to buy the equipment that we needed from CDWG, and we saved about $4,000. So we're going to come in about $4,000 under budget on that project. So we'll be at about $20,100 on that. Console management system that you approved a few meetings back. Brad with Comtech has told us that the shipment has been delayed. It's now been delayed twice. We will hopefully get that equipment in January, and that's just because of the shortage of equipment. So when they get that in, then Comtech will begin the programming on that and install that shortly thereafter. But that's $60,000 that has been appropriated, but we have not spent yet. Now, here's the part that irks me just a little bit about Central Square, and it will be in this list of emails here that I've also provided to you. Central Square last month had sent me an email saying, hey, these are some projects that you have open, and these are some fees that you will owe, and they have not billed those, allegedly because we've not signed a task completion report yet. So in other words, they haven't completed the work, and they say that they haven't sent that task completion report out yet, right? Okay, that makes sense. However, this $205,685.02 is from the initial purchase of the RMS system back in 2017. They evidently have not finished some of that work, and they say that is still unbilled. As you can see in some of my replies there, I've asked for detailed information about what projects were not completed, why is it amounting to $205,000, and there were even a couple of projects that they said that they were going to do they didn't, we were overbilled for them in maintenance fees. I caught those, and they have credited those in the amount of somewhere around $20,000 in the past year. So I'm just in a little bit of a battle with Central Square on that. But just to give you a heads up, that's what Central Square says that we're owing them on some past work. Another one of those fees is $7,020 on some implementation fees from September of 20. And again, I've asked for some details on those and have yet to receive those. And that's only been about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so since I sent that email to them, but nothing back from them yet. Okay? Any questions on that before I go any farther?
Yeah, just one from the 2017, 205,000. When did they first notify you of this? Just approximate date. It may be in here, I just hadn't.
December 21st, this year.
Wow, okay. It says a lot right there.
Now, I've had several questions for Central Squares in the past 2 years, and one of the questions I've had is, how much do we owe you? Is there anything outstanding? Now, a little bit of a history. I think it was last spring, they said, well, you owe $351,000 for fees that you didn't pay in 2020 or 2021. I said, so you're telling me that a year or 2 years later that we've had these fees that were due, but this is the first time you're telling me about it. Haven't heard anything since then. So evidently they figured out where that $350,000 mistake was. Also in this package, you'll see on the back of the agenda, dear valued customer, below is a statement of showing open invoices for your account as of today. These are all field ops licenses. I simply pass these on to the client agencies who want these field ops licenses. So these are, I mean, a total of less than $1,000, and they're nothing that we would pay anyway. It's just simply a pass-through. So for them to not even if there's not a TCR that's signed, for them not to give me a heads up that you have an outstanding balance, you have to figure up all this, $318,000 roughly. It kind of says something. Oh, ironically, on Friday, they called me and said, hey, we've been sending bills to Sumner County in New York, but they say that's not their bills. So can you give me a contact? And it's for the sheriff's office. So as you can see, there's some discrepancies in their accounting department. So anyway, just want to throw that out there and make you aware of that. Moving on, I think that is all of the business I want to tell you about for that part. Any questions on any of that? I know it's not went quickly.
Anybody have any questions for Mike? One stay, that's a good job staying on top of that. That
Yes.
saved us a bunch of money.
And now you can understand why we're wanting to move vendors.
Yeah, I do
It's a
understand.
constant
Goodness
battle.
gracious alive, that's a lot of
I can
money.
just echo the fact that I've ran into the same problem years ago with finding errors in billing from the same company. So you have to stay on, and you're doing a good job, so I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And kudos to all the hard work that was done during the tornado. That was outstanding work.
We'll express that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on, the ECC Director's Report.
So right now, our shortage on the floor is 8 positions. 7 of those are telecommunicators and 1 is a call taker. We have extended conditional offer letters to 5 individuals. We're waiting for their pre-employment test results to come back before we can give them the final. If they start, if they all accept, then they'll start on January 16th. So we're just kind of backed up with the test results here. And then once all 5 of those start, we'll be down to just 3 vacancies, which is the least I think we've ever had. So that's amazing. The next round of interviews we've got scheduled to start the week of February 20th with another start date of March 11th. So hopefully we'll be able to fill the last 5 and then get 3 more in there and be fully staffed. And then currently, as far as our training goes, we've got 2 brand new telecommunicators that are in training on the floor, and then of course cross-training continues across the center. Questions?
Just one quick one out of curiosity. Are you seeing any of the new hires or new prospects have any prior experience? Or are they all new, or is it kind of a mix?
It's a little bit of a mix. Most of them do not have any prior experience. We try to get some with experience, but
Difficult.
yeah, you know, other agencies are offering more money, so that's, you know, we're trying to stay competitive, but that's always going to be one of those, you know,
Sure.
kind of balance.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Please tell everybody over there, we appreciate the
Absolutely.
work they did during this tornado. Sounds like they did a great job staying on top of everything. And we sure appreciate it. Mike, I just got one thing before we move on.
Yes, sir.
The ECC director, now that fella turned that job down Friday, so we'll start all over again?
That'll be up to the executive committee, and here's our
Oh,
chairman of the
okay.
executive committee.
All right,
here,
well.
Well, we're putting together a plan right now. So, we're in talks with Mr. Guthrie and I think we're gonna present a plan to the committee going
Good.
forward.
Good,
But,
okay.
I wanna flesh that out before we go public with it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, that moves us on to old business.
Old business, okay. January of '22, this board approved for me to spend up to $1,200 a month on a secondary phone system. We vetted about 4 vendors back then, and we put that on hold because we didn't find one that we just really were wowed by. Also, as part of the refresh, we were expected to get the soft switch system, and the soft switch system was supposed to be pretty robust, and we were told that, hey, you probably won't need this secondary phone system. However, we got soft switch, and in full transparency, nothing against the soft switch system, but I think we've had 2 phone outages, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 6 months, Amy. I know one in September, and I don't remember about the other one, but anyway, that was at no fault of the soft switch system. That was other equipment failure. So we have since talked to Verizon. They have a pretty decent contender here for a secondary phone system. And essentially, here's what this will do. Is currently we can transfer our 911 calls to Wilson County. That can either happen automatically or we can do that manually. Our admin lines, we can do that manually now that we're on IP Flex, except in the September outage, we have cell phones in the building, but I can only transfer one incoming number to one cell phone. And we have dozens of telephone numbers that come in. But so only one person can answer that one cell phone, right? So our thought is we can purchase 13 of these phones from Verizon, their desk phones. We can put 10 at the ECC, we can put 3 at the DR site. And the only thing that you have to have is a power source because these are going to be on the cell phone network. Therefore, if we do have another outage, whether it's because of a line failure or equipment failure, within a minute and a half, we can transfer at least 10 of our incoming numbers to these new Verizon phones, and we'll still be able to take calls in. There won't be any putting on Facebook or sending out a code red message that says, if you have an emergency, call 555-1212 or something like that. They're going to call the same numbers, 3838, 2616, whatever. They're going to call the same numbers, but we just have to have phones to answer those on, okay? So, and we're only relying on the cell network, not a hardwired line to come in. So, the initial cost for these 13 phones would be $1,950, and the recurring expense would be $345, which is significantly less than what we had approved back in 2022. So, I would ask that you allow me to still use that same plan, purchase these phones, and run through Verizon with that secondary phone option. There is a 2-year agreement, by the way. I have to go with a 2-year agreement for them.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve.
Thank you, Paul. Ben, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, CAD and RMS update. Sent out an RFP. We had 5 responses from vendors, and here they are. Caliber was the lowest initial cost bid, and they met all but one of the criteria that we put out. In this RFP, we had over 300 pieces of criteria that we had asked for to fulfill the CAD, RMS, and mobile environments for what we want to replace what we have today. Also, the Caliber is Indiana State Police uses Caliber RMS. I talked to a representative up there last week, and they're nothing but thrilled with Caliber. As a matter of fact, they're in the process now of renegotiating their contract to re-up that contract. And they've been a customer since 2009. The ticket system was, quote, phenomenal, unquote, and they are pleased with the customer service they received from Caliber as well. And then you can see what the rest of the proposals were. Civic Eye, on their initial fees, were lower than what Caliber is. However, Caliber will want their first year of maintenance fees 1 year after you go live. Civic Eye wants to add their first year of maintenance fees in with the implementation fees. Therefore, it's going to be $1.6-ish million as the initial cost for Civic Eye. And again, the other four respondents had several criteria that they did not meet, and Caliber had the one that only had one criteria that was not met. As far as what we wanted. Now, there are some stipulations that, let me back up. I ran this through county finance because they already have the template there to bid things out, and so I thought that might be a little bit easier. But they had some stipulations also that could not be met by any of the vendors. So technically, all 5 of these vendors did not meet the requirements of the RFP. So I'm in a discussion with county finance and legal now about their position on this and what my position is on this. Now, I can certainly explain more, but I don't want to ramble on and unless you just want to know something specific about that. So, pending what I can find out from county finance and county legal, it is my opinion and the wish of the client agencies who have been involved to move forward with the exploration of Caliber as a replacement for CAD and RMS. Now, I don't know how the board feels about that with the RFP coming back and county saying that we should disqualify and start over with the RFP process. But this board certainly may have a different opinion on that. So, got a couple options. We could go back and just completely rebid it. We could give a contingency approval. That way we don't have to wait until March if that becomes an issue to revisit this. I don't want to have to ask you to recall another meeting or a special meeting. And those basically are 2 options as far as what to do for this particular purchase of Caliber.
Comments?
So they had, I'm sorry, I got one question. So they had 1 point of contention that did not meet the RFP, 1 criteria?
Of our requirements.
Right,
Now,
your
there's some-
RFP that was submitted.
Yes, sir.
There's
There's some
one that-
requirements on the county's part that
Was it legal?
it's,
Is it more of a legal?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding you right, if you didn't have that problem, you'd be proposing that we approve Caliber today.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, if you can get your situation resolved with finance and legal, then could we vote by email?
I don't think that you could vote by email.
I like the suggestion of maybe a contingency as a possibility.
That's better.
Same way,
That's a
yeah.
better one. That's a better idea.
Yeah, that way we're in person. Because if it's a legal issue, that's the only people that can resolve that is county legal. So that might not be a bad idea, just a contingency. If every other criterion has been met, you're satisfied and done your due diligence, which sounds like you have, then I would be not opposed to that.
Okay.
So you're talking about approval of that contingent upon
Contingent
meeting
upon,
the
meeting
one-
the legal requirements,
meeting the legal
yeah.
requirements, okay.
If everything else has been done and there's no further to be done except make sure that the county is satisfied with the legal requirements of that contract and the RFP going out, then, because if it was, again, you'd be asking for approval of that.
That's correct.
At that point, so,
Oh, that's a motion, I'll second it.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve, I guess if we were to approval on, a contingent on the approval of county legal and finance, that it does meet the requirements of the RFP as set forth in this particular instance.
Okay.
Something to that.
And then, so the 1.3 million is what their fees would be. We're gonna have to get Infonet involved also.
Sure.
And I had originally asked you for up to 1.5 million. So if you would so approve of that as to to grant up to 1.5 million for the implementation fees as well, the cutover. That would help us out.
So
tremendously.
Infranet has not submitted a quote for that process yet, or?
So Infranet, I think, would want a whole lot of detail, and they're not willing to go through that work of.
Until such time?
Until,
That makes
because we could,
sense.
we could tell them we like salaries, but, we could have to end up going with Paul's CAD service or something.
Sure. So that would be an estimate on your part based on what you assume would be reasonable fees to bring that up. So I'll amend my motion up to 1.5?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay, everybody understand the motion? Yep. All right, second? Thank you, Archie. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. No new business, and that's it. Next meeting is March 11th.
We have one new business item, and that is to adjourn. Mr. Schaefer? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.